Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with our lash tabbing diagramming. Okay, we're going to go ahead, I'm going to make it quite big, so we're going to make our eye, okay, and then we have our small lashes, our natural lashes. Okay, a little crooked there, but it's alright. Okay, I'm going to have 3 different colors, so I need you to get 3 different colors so that way when you're diagramming you know which layer you're working on based on the colors that we diagram with. Okay, so lash tabbing. We have previously done a strip lash application, okay, which is a lash that is in a strip form. You take the whole strip, you apply it over the natural lash line, and there you have it. You have a full lash on one application. Okay, we've done enhancements where you cut this full lash strip in half and you're only working from the middle of the eye out to just enhance the corner of the eye for someone that doesn't want such volume or drama in their eye. Sometimes there are some clients that have maybe some gaps or some lashes missing on their actual lash line, and you can have these lash tabbings placed in those empty spots to fill in, per se, the emptiness of their lash. Not necessarily to create length or any drama in their lashes, but just to fill. Okay? If you wanted to, just as we did the strip lash enhancement from cutting the strip lash in the middle and working to the outer corner of the eye, you can do that as well with the lash tabbing, okay, which we'll do on Wednesday when you apply to yourself. Okay, now with this particular lash, the strip lash that you have in front of you, there's various flares, but any one is fine. If you pay attention and I can't get too close because it's not going to focus very well, but when you take a look at the actual lash, okay, the strip, you're going to be able to see here the little clusters, the lash clusters, and the spacing in between on the strip lash that are very similar and look like these little individual lash clusters for the lash tabbing. Okay, now they have different colors of the lash tabbings, and then they also have different lengths, and then they also have for the top and the bottom lash line. Okay, you just have to make sure on the little tray, it'll say it here written down on the tray, so you just want to make sure you're choosing the correct one. Now for this particular, for today, what we're just working on is our spacing. We'll continue all the different kinds of applications as we go along. So with our spacing, we want to pay attention to our already existing lash that we have and the amount of spacing that there is in between each one of the lash per se tabbings that are on here. Okay, so lash tabbing. Okay, again, you can just use it to correct someone's natural lash, fill any gaps, or you can also use it to enhance. There are, like I said, various colors and various lengths to use. Okay, so we have here a natural lash. Okay, we're going to use 3 colors. We're going to work on our spacing. We're always, and I'm just going to use an added color here, we always want to keep this little square like we have previously talked about right on the outer corner. We want to make sure that there's no glue or lash attached to that, because when the eye opens and closes, it's going to fold, the skin's going to fold against itself, and if there's a fake lash of any kind on those corners, it could poke and irritate the skin in the eye, and the eye is going to start watering. Water and glue doesn't do very well, and the client, of course, is going to be irritated and unhappy. So I want to sure to stay away from the very, very edge of the lash line on the top and on the bottom if you're adding to the bottom lash line. Okay, so I'm going to start with the color red, and then green, and then blue. Not in any particular reason other than it's going to be a little bit easier to see. Now there's various techniques of how to apply the lash tabbing. This is just a technique, one way. This is not the technique. Okay, there's not just one way to get downtown Houston. There's many streets to get there. The point is that at the end, the service looks good, and at the end, you just get to your destination. Okay, the lashes look good. So this is the 5-5-2 technique. So I'm just going to write this down. I guess 5-5-2. Okay. So our first layer, our first go around of our lash tabbing, we're going to lay down 5 lashes. Now a flare. And there's also various kinds of flares of the lashes. So the flare of the lash is from the right to the left of the fan, per se, of the lash. So let's say that this here is our little lash glue tip, and then this is our flare. The flare is from the right to the left, how the fibers are flaring out. Okay, I'll make that a little bit bigger. So again, this is the flare. Okay, some lashes are a little bit more straight and narrow, and some are a little bit more wispy and wide. Okay, so the flare is the spacing that you want to keep in mind as we're doing this. Okay, so when you start off, a lot of times the problem is that artists will start on the outer corners, which is where typically you would start, and they like to bunch up one on top of the other all the lash tabs. And you don't want to do that, because you want to give the glue time to dry as you're working in layers, so that way you don't move the lash tabbings around, and then when you're done, the lash tabbings are crooked. Okay, so we're going to start off with 5 of these individual lash clusters. We're going to work with our spacing, and our spacing is the space between each one of the cluster, where the glue is at. Okay, the lash clusters. You want to make sure to keep in mind the spacing between the flares. Okay, so that we definitely want to keep in mind. Okay, so I'm going to draw this in a bigger scale. So we're going to be you're doing this as an enhancement, per se, just from the outer corner to the middle of the eye, but you certainly can go from the outer corner to the inner corner of the eye. Okay, but because you only have one strip of the lash tabbing, which has 20 lashes, you're going to do one eye and one eye, so 2 eyes total, but from the middle out. If not, you would use 20 on one single strip. This particular lash here has 22 individual little lash clusters, so you would need literally 1 of these per eye. But since you only have 1, we're going to do half and half on Wednesday. Okay. All right. So again, we're going to start here on the outer corner. We're working our way in. So this is going to be our flare. That's 1. We're going to space. Now, a lot of times, like I said, artists will start to apply the next one right next to, right on top of. No. You want to focus on this point right here. The last little fiber that is flared out from the lash tab you just set down. So your next tab will go here. You see how these 2 points touch? They make a V. Okay. All of this space here is what you want. Don't worry about what this looks like right now. We're going to come by and put another layer. We're going to cover that space up, okay? What you want to focus on is just this flare right here, creating this V shape with the 2 tabs, okay? Continuing, that's 1, 2, our next one. Okay, again, here's our touch, that's 3. Our next one. Okay, that's 4, and 1 more. Right there, it's 5. Okay, so this is 1 lash, 2, 3, 4, 5 lash clusters. Okay, we want to look for this V shape in between each one of our lash clusters. Okay, so you want to look for V shape between each one of your clusters. Okay, so you're doing 5 on your first layer. So layer 1 is 5 lashes. Okay, now we're going to move on to our green marker. Now, and again, we're only going from the outer corner to the middle. If you wish to continue, you can do so. Okay, but of course then you'll have to make sure to cut them or move on from your long lashes to your medium to your short lashes, so they have a nice acute angle, like curved acute angle as we talked about, etc. Okay, so our second layer layer 2 is also going to be 5 lashes. Okay, you're going to go in between. So this space right here that we have previously created with making our V's between our lash tabbings, we are now going to come in and put a tab in between each one of those previous tabs. Okay, so we don't start on the outer corner, because remember, we don't want to have any glue here right on the outer edge. Okay, you still have a little space. I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. I should have pointed that out at the beginning. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to do one more on the outer corner. Okay, so by the time you get to applying this last lash tab, this first lash tab, its glue would have already dried. So you're working in layers per se from the corner to the center as you're doing so the glue is drying. So you're going to come in and put your next flare here, 1, in between 2, in between 3, in between 4, and 5. Okay, if you were to look between these two, you have the V shape and you have the connection of those 2 points of the flares, just like you did with the red layer, the first layer. Okay, now on this outer corner, just to make it and help it to blend with your natural lashes, you put that extra lash there. The reason why you don't want to put it out here on the outer corner is because on your last layer, with the last 2 lashes you're going to be adding, it's your blend. So you're going to add in this very last little space, not on the outer corner, not on the corner, but on this little extra space before you get to the very corner, you're going to add your last lash to give you a nice kick cat eye flare. And then you're going to add 1 out to blend. Now on some people you don't need to blend, but on some people you do. So this blue layer is optional. So layer 3, then of course by the time you've gone here, these are the glue's dry and you're ready to add the blue layer. And this is 2 lashes. Okay, and with these 2 lashes, you can change the size. So you can make the red and the green layer your long lashes, and then change it to medium length with the blue. Or you can choose red is long, because they do sell them in these lengths. So you can do long lashes. They also have extra long, but those are a little long. Those are really long to be too natural looking. You have to put a lot, but okay, so if that's what your client wants or the look you're going for, that's fine. So your layer, the first layer can be long, your second layer can be medium, and then your third layer can be short. So that way you have more of a natural look with your lashes. Now, always making sure that you remember that as you're doing this, you may need to cut. Okay, or you may need to go in a curved cutting manner. Okay, so if you need to cut to blend, remember, don't cut the natural lash, just the false lash. Make sure you cut at a point. Remember when we were diagram, we did a zigzag line to let us know we're cutting with the point of the scissor, not the flat part of the scissor. Oops, sorry. Okay, so that is our lash tabbing technique, working on our spacing at the base, at the lash line, making sure that we are getting that by focusing on the tip of our flare and having our flares connect at the tip, not our tabs connecting at the base. Okay, now should you wish to continue this all the way through, totally fine, you can do that. Should you find that this is too much of a gap in between, you can always, and you don't have to do this, but I guess let me go ahead and add it with a different color. I'm going to add blue, but just make it a darker blue. You can always come back in and add, or I guess that was purple, a small lash in between each tab. Okay, you can do that. But you're using more product, you're taking more time, okay, and it's more, a little bit more work for you, artist work, so you definitely may have to charge a little bit more, especially because lashes are expensive, and so you do want to make sure you cover that on that part of your fee, of your charge. Okay, you don't have to, but you definitely can. Doing a little bit of mascara before the application will help blend that in nicely, and of course adding your eyeliner will thicken that lash line. Okay, so that is your lash tabbing diagram for your lash tabs. If you have any questions, please let me know.